This is an Eyewitness News election update. I'm Sade Bedarnois. It is the final weekend of early voting ahead of Election Day this Tuesday. Nearly 500,000 people have participated in the first 7 days in New York City. Today, all three candidates for mayor were out trying to convince voters to get to the polls for them. And if you're still undecided or haven't cast your ballot, we want to catch you up on the big issues New Yorkers are facing and where the candidates stand. We're talking about affordability, crime, education, how the Trump administration has played a role in this race, and transportation. Our Bill Ritter takes us through each of them.
It's some of the highest rent in the nation, coupled with some of the lowest vacancy rates. Childcare that can cost upwards of $20,000 a year. Then there's the rising cost of utilities, groceries, and other everyday items. There's no question New York is facing an affordability crisis. But for voters, the question remains, who's best to make New York more affordable by becoming the 111th mayor of the biggest city in the nation?
This is New York. We can afford to dream.
From the very start of his campaign, Zoran Mandani has made affordability his signature priority with a plan to freeze rents.
8.5 million people call this city home. Close to 2.5 million of them live in rent-stabilized apartments. The city has the power to freeze the rent for those apartments. The mayor has used that power to increase the rent by more than 12%. So one way that you make life more affordable is you freeze the rent for 4 years and you say the rent you're paying now is the rent you're going to pay next year.
He also wants to build 200,000 new affordable housing units over the next 10 years. Implement free childcare for every New Yorker from 6 weeks to 5 years old. Create city-owned grocery stores and eliminate the fare on all city buses. Now, to pay for all this, Mr. Mamdani wants to raise the corporate tax rate on businesses and increase the personal income tax on New Yorkers who earn more than $1 million a year.
Rent is too darn high all across the board. Middle-class families, working families, it's out of control.
For Andrew Cuomo, a former Secretary of Housing and Urban Development under President Clinton, the answer to making New York more affordable centers around development.
We're going to look at sites all across the city, private sites, public sites, city-owned sites, partner with the faith-based community, and we're going to build, I want to start in the first 100 days, 80,000 units. We need 500,000 units, and we can do it.
Mr. Cuomo is also calling for capping property taxes at 2% for struggling homeowners, ending taxes on tips, and raising the real estate transfer tax threshold to $2.5 million to make it easier to purchase a home.
I'm worried about the blue-collar working-class people in the city who can't run away like billionaires.
Calling himself the working-class candidate, Curtis Sliwa has proposed repealing the so-called City of Yes zoning policy and instead give that power back to local communities. He also wants to convert vacant office buildings into housing units and push to cap annual property tax increases at 2%.
And the one thing you can control, the property tax, and cutting this extraordinary budget of $118 billion that is growing by the day. Cutting the Department of Education by $10 billion, it's bloated. Cutting the Department of Buildings, which is corrupt and inefficient and stifles growth.
The statistics simply don't lie. Murders and shootings in New York City are down. But if you ask New Yorkers, many would say that despite the number of big crimes being down, they nonetheless feel less safe on the streets and particularly in the subways. It may seem like a contradiction, but the truth is both points are real. And it comes to the fore when we have a big election, like we do right now in the battle for the next mayor of New York.
I'll hire 5,000 new cops to partner with local community groups.
Andrew Cuomo has said safety is number one for a mayor, and hiring additional police officers is just part of his plan.
I would have incentives to try to get people to apply, because nobody applies anymore to be a police officer in New York City. Incentives to get them to apply, 5,000 police, 1,500 in the subways where people really feel unsafe. And start with public safety because that is the base.
The 5,000 cops that Mr. Cuomo is promising will increase the size of the department to about 40,000 officers. That's the same level it saw in the late 1990s. Curtis Sliwa, meanwhile, said he would hire 7,000 new officers. And Zoran Mamdani, he thinks New York has enough cops.
I think we have the right number of police officers right now. I think we have to have them doing more police work. And that means that we do not have those same officers being tasked with connecting a homeless New Yorker with services that they require or responding to a mental health call. We need to ensure that we have mental health experts doing that work.
Mr. Mondani wants to establish a Department of Community Safety, with those mental health teams responding to certain 911 calls. While his opponents have questioned whether the plan will put mental health workers in danger, Mondani insists dispatchers will be able to determine which calls require political assistance.
And I trust those dispatchers because they make those determinations today with 911 calls where they're ascertaining, is there a threat of violence in this scenario, or is this just someone who needs someone to be able to respond to their crisis?
Now, when it comes to current NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch, well, all three candidates say they would keep her on board if elected. And while they agree on keeping Tisch, they differ on the future of another crime issue, the Rikers Island jail complex. Mamdani supports the current law that calls for closing Rikers by summer 2027 and replacing it with borough-based jails. Cuomo and Sliwa want to scrap the plan to close Rikers. And when talking about public safety, both Cuomo and Mamdani have been forced to answer questions about their past. Mamdani has been critical of the police in the past, and Cuomo was governor of New York when he helped enact bail reform.
Shoplifting, it's like an easy pass in and out. And that's because of Andrew Cuomo's no cash bail. No cash bail, Andrew Cuomo, that Zoran Mondani is in favor of. I'm the only one who says we got to get rid of this. This has created a crime climate. When I talk to people who visit us, they say, Curtis, you're a city that locks up toothpaste and you don't lock up criminals?
One candidate attended Canarsie Public High School in Brooklyn. Another went to school at the Archbishop Malloy Catholic School in Queens. And the third candidate for mayor went to Bronx Science, a specialized public high school. The three men now running for mayor of New York had three very different educational paths while growing up in the city. And not surprisingly, they also have three different ideas on how to run the largest public school system in the country.
I remain opposed to mayoral control.
Don't give up mayoral control.
Supporters of mayoral control, like Andrew Cuomo, say the system promotes accountability and makes large citywide changes possible. Critics, like Zoran Mondani, argue that mayoral control shuts teachers and parents out of the decision-making.
We need a system that understands teachers, students, parents as being part of the way in which we deliver the educational policy of this city.
That was Mr. Mondani speaking in July as he received the endorsement of the powerful United Federation of Teachers Union. Of course, New York has many unique aspects to its educational system. No surprise when a system with a more than $40 billion budget. That's more money than the budgets of 31 states. The city's specialized high schools use an exam to determine admission. Mamdani, who, as we mentioned, attended a specialized high school, is in favor of keeping that exam. Curtis Sliwa also wants to keep the test. And Mr. Cuomo would not only keep the exam, but he also wants to double the number of specialized high schools from 9 to 18. And then there's the Gifted and Talented program, which offers spots to fewer than 5% of kindergarten students. If he's elected, Mamdani says he would immediately end that program, at least for kindergartners. His opponents, well, they disagree.
You take away gifted and talented program, the one possibility that your child might get a really first-class education in public schools goes with it.
I would not only maintain gifted and talented because I saw it up close and personal, I would expand it.
Three different candidates, three different visions. The lives of more than 900,000 kids are at stake. Bill Ritter, Channel 7, Eyewitness News. Donald Trump, a native of Queens, has, to put it mildly, loomed large over the election of the next mayor. He has cut funding for key projects, and he's let it be known when he doesn't like who's in the running for the office. He has spent the most time attacking Zoran Mondani, falsely claiming that the 34-year-old frontrunner is a communist. During an appearance on Fox News, Mondani turned to the camera and spoke directly to the president.
That I will not be a mayor like Mayor Adams who will call you to figure out how to stay out of jail. I won't be a disgraced governor like Andrew Cuomo who will call you to ask how to win this election. I can do those things on my own. I will, however, be a mayor who is ready to speak at any time to lower the cost of living. That's the way that I'm going to lead this city. That's the partnership I want to build.
Andrew Cuomo has also attacked Mr. Mondani, saying the president will take advantage of him. In an interview, he told me From his time as governor, he had daily battles with the president.
I'm a fighter, and he's a fighter, so we had a lot of battles. And he was sending National Guard all over the country at that time, threatened to send them to New York. I said, no how, no way. He didn't. So we won our share of battles.
While Mr. Trump has dismissed Curtis Sliwa as, quoting now, not exactly prime time, the candidate admits he'll need to work with this fellow Republican if he became mayor.
The Trump administration has said they're going to cut NYCHA funds, they cut Medicaid funds, they cut food stamps, they intend on cutting more. You got to get ahead of the curve. Meet with them and say, whoa, 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 whoa. Can we sit down? Can we have a conversation and agree to negotiate this before you just drop the hammer on our head?
The funding is only one part of dealing with the Trump administration. The president has already deployed the National Guard in many cities like Chicago and Los Angeles. For the record, all three mayoral candidates in New York oppose Mr. Trump ordering National Guard troops to patrol the streets of the country's biggest city. Now, when it comes to immigration and the president's continued crackdown and deportation of undocumented workers who have been here for years and are crucial to the economy, Mr. Mamdani and Mr. Cuomo say they would keep New York's sanctuary city protections, while Mr. Sliwa says he would end those policies. And finally, all three of the candidates insist they are each best suited to stand up to Donald Trump and his administration.
I am the last person on this stage that Mr. Trump wants to see as mayor.
I am Donald Trump's worst nightmare as a progressive Muslim immigrant who actually fights for the things that I believe in.
Oh, if you believe Andrew Cuomo, who's calling up Trump all the time, I'm going to stand up to him. Zohar Mamdani, I'm going to stand up to him. You stand up to President Trump, who controls all the money. Guess what? We, the citizens, lose.
Right now, as we can see, I'm taking part in a time-old New York City tradition, which is waiting for the bus.
Zohar Mamdani has a proposal as one of his signature platforms, which would make all New York City buses free for riders. He says it will not only help New Yorkers who are struggling with affordability, but also speed up the buses.
If you had free buses, you'd be able to board and disembark from any one of the doors on that bus. That speeds it up.
Now, the conundrum to the proposal would be that the state is the one that controls the MTA, its buses, and the funding that would be lost with free rides. So I asked Mr. Mamdani, how would all this work?
You look at Mayor Bloomberg. He was so committed to Hudson Yards and the extension of the 7 train to Hudson Yards that he paid for the construction of that subway station with city funds. It's a state responsibility. But that's what he did because of how much he was committed to that vision.
As for candidate Andrew Cuomo, he says he wants to expand the so-called fair fares program, so New Yorkers earning up to 150% of the federal poverty level can ride buses and subways for free. He's also very quick to tout many of his transportation infrastructure accomplishments.
New LaGuardia Airport, 2nd Avenue Subway, Kosciuszko Bridge, New Long Island Railroad, Moynihan Train Hall.
Mr. Cuomo and Curtis Sliwa have both called for additional police officers underground, saying a safe subway will increase ridership. And all of them said they would challenge President Trump over his plan to stop federal funding for both the 2nd Avenue subway expansion and the Gateway Tunnel project, designed to expand train service between New York and New Jersey.
I would take it to him directly and say, why? What's the issue? What are you trying to accomplish? It's wrong. It's going to be bad for you. It's going to be bad for the state.
I was never in favor of the expansion of the Q train, 2nd Avenue train line. We don't need those 3 stations. That's a boondoggle. But the corridor that transports millions of people underneath the Hudson River is desperately needed. It's falling apart. I would have made the argument with the Trump administration, look, we don't need the 3 new stations. There's no demand for that.
And when it comes to congestion pricing, Mr. Mamdani would like to keep the tolling in place. Mr. Cuomo would keep it, but he says he would have ongoing reviews to make sure it is achieving its purpose. As for Mr. Sliwa, he says he would eliminate the tolls completely.
And our thanks to Bill Ritter. We have a live blog on ABC7 NY to keep you up to date on all of the happenings of the campaign trail in these final days. And a couple of quick political programming notes for you. On Sunday at 5 p.m., Bill will be hosting a special evening edition of Up Close, highlighting his conversations with the candidates for New York City mayor. And Monday at 5:30, we will have a complete voter's guide to the 2025 election. Everything you need to know about both the mayor's race and the governor's race in New Jersey. And I'm Sade Better-Noir. Full coverage on all the big races ahead of Election Day on ABC 7 NY.